You're listening to Alaska Real Estate Podcast. I'm Chris Story, your host for great adventures in real estate. Today you'll hear from Dave Summers on what legislative issues your Alaska Association of Realtors is working on right now. Plus, our old friend Nobu Hata checks in from his new post in Chicago. What does a director of digital engagement do anyway? Find out right here on Alaska Real Estate. This podcast made possible in part thanks to the support of Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. From first-time home buyers to energy rebates, AHFC is your partner in Alaska real estate. Find them online at akrebate.com and ahfc.us. And Alaska USA Title Agency. With offices all around Alaska, Crystal and her team at AK USA Title are there for you and your clients. Find out why so many people love closing through Alaska USA Title Agency. Check them out online at alaskausatitle.com. Hey, are you attending the NAR 2012 Conference and Expo? No? Well, not to worry. Our own reporter in the field, April Frick, will bring you live action from Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. Plus, Nobu's going to explain how you can participate online this year. Well, I couldn't start today's podcast without just a wee bit of humor, so here's some things you'll never hear a redneck say. You ready? I'll take Shakespeare for 1,000, Alex. No, redneck would never say that. How about, duct tape won't fix that? Come to think of it, I'll have a Heineken. Nope. We don't keep firearms in this here house. You can't feed that to the dog. I thought Graceland was tacky. No kids in the back of the pickup. It ain't safe. Professional wrestling's fake. No, it's actually not. That's not funny. Honey, did you mail in the donation to Greenpeace yet? Hey, we're vegetarians. Actually, Bill Clinton is a vegetarian now. Do you think my hair is too big? I'll have a grapefruit instead of the biscuits and gravy. Honey, these bonsai trees need watering. I don't understand the appeal of NASCAR. Give me the small bag of pork rinds. Yeah, that one right there. And finally, what you'll never hear a redneck say, I just couldn't find a thing at the Walmarts today. And now, with no corollary to the preceding jokes, please welcome our first guest, Dave Summers. Dave, what's the legislative committee been up to anyway?
Well, we've had a couple meetings in the last few weeks for the industry issues meeting for Alaska Association of Realtors. That's our legislative committee, if you will. A few weeks ago, we went over and talked about some of our ongoing programs and try to put a list of new programs that we're going to be working on for this year. You know, we talked about the ongoing things like ensuring that the Real Estate Commission has control over their accounting and investigation processes, and we feel they are gaining good ground on that. We're watching them very close. We're working on a long-term fix for HUD holding tank issues and the rural development holding tank issues that does affect the interior more in the Homer Kenai area. We're watching the legislature to see if they resubmit midterm insurance cancellation bill. That was a Senate Bill 157 from last year that kind of snuck up on us. That was going to basically give companies the ability to cancel homeowners insurance midterm when they feel a house has been abandoned. That didn't work right. We got that one shut down, and we haven't heard of anything yet. They haven't come to us for any input. But we'll be watching to see if that comes back up. And then we're going to follow up on the Real Estate Commission's current regulation project that, if it passes, would allow payment of commissions to all legal entities, which the association is against, and we'll see how that comes out. And new issues that we're going to be watching dealt with the possible involvement of AAR together with NAR, working on a constitutional amendment to ban transfer taxes, and I'll give an update on that in a minute. We're definitely putting energy costs and negative effect it's having on housing and the population around the state on our agenda for the year, as it was last year. We're going to look into exemptions for real estate licensees for business licenses, and the committee did take some action on that in the last meeting yesterday, and I'll update that also. We're also worried about the loss of a license for somebody that's trying to upgrade due to post-licensing requirements, and I'll give you an update on that also. We took some action on that. With the Kenai area, and I think this has already been talked about a few times. I think, Chris, you worked on this in the podcast, the anadromous stream ordinance out of Kenai.
Oh, right. Yeah, but what's the current stand on that?
We put the Kenai board together with law firm that deals with this issue with NAR, and they have a lot of history on issues like this where we consider it a taking of land, and they're gaining ground on that. And I think that they're going to win over. We need to hear back from them, and I think it's best that it comes from them at this point to see what position they're at right now. But it was a very good program. The bottom line is the partnership with AAR and NAR worked very well. It was good to keep AAR out of the fight. It is the local people don't want to see the people from around the state telling them what to do. But it sure is nice to have some help from your friends around the state and from national when you need it. And it was certainly supplied on this battle.
So that's a long list of things, Dave. It's interesting. You can just be going about your business, selling real estate, the market's doing what it's doing, and there's a ton of stuff that you and your committee and the industry issues committee is dealing with. It's a long list.
Every time we think, well, it'd be nice just to take on one or two issues, but there's another number of things that come up, and as of yesterday's meeting, I can give you an update on a few of the things that I've already mentioned and a couple other things we're looking at. But when it came to the transfer, banning the government transfer fee issue around the state and the partnership with NAR, after discussing it, it is not easy to get a constitutional amendment through in the state of Alaska. It's frowned upon. Unless there's an immediate need for it, your chance of getting it through is very difficult. If anybody could do it, I think our group can. We have a good lobby. We're very effective. We'd have to burn all our political capital to do it, and I don't see where we're at, or the committee didn't see at least, where we're in jeopardy at this time. So we're not. And
it was preemptive, correct? I mean, this was a preemptive move. There wasn't a bill or anything in the works. It was just sort of a preemptive strike.
That's correct. And we haven't had an issue around the state since, it was 8 years ago in Kenai. Actually, not Kenai. I believe it was Attawasilla. They tried to do a transfer tax of some sort. And we were successful working with them to get that put down. And I think we would again. If in the future we have time to do something like this again, and if we think we're going to be in jeopardy or the timing is right, then we might look at it again. We passed on it this time. We thanked NAR very much for asking to get involved with us. And they understood. They looked at our situation. They thought, I think they agreed with us at that point. Now, on the business license exemption, we just came to the conclusion that it's not fair enough for us to go out and do all this education and spend all this money to get a license with the Division of Corporations Business Professional Licensing, then have to get a business license too. And I'm speaking for the licensees now, not for an office that might have to get a business license anyways. So we're gonna in AS 4370.105 exemptions where it comes to business licensing, we're gonna try to add a real estate licensee to that list. We think we'll be successful. Making a licensee obtain an additional license adds another layer of fees, and I don't see how the state can show a valid reason for that additional license. It just doesn't make sense. So we come up with language for that at our last meeting yesterday, and we're going to go ahead and file for a statute change this year on that.
Any early indications as to how that will be received?
We'd like to hear from our lobbyists on that, and because they're a good tester for us. They're not one of us. They lobby for us. So one of my first questions is, does this sound too self-serving?
Right.
Because it certainly will look that way on the surface, but the bottom line is it's not a matter of being self-serving. It's just not right, and for that reason, they think it'll be well received, and they think that we'll be successful at it.
Great, glad to hear it.
The other issue had to do with the educational requirements, and I touched on that earlier. But when you upgrade a license, or when you obtain a license, the law said for a number of years now that you have to have a certain amount of post-educational licensing or education to retain that license, and you have 1 year to do so after you get your license or after you upgrade your license. We had a situation come up last year where somebody went to upgrade their license to associate broker. During the process, whether it had become a move or somebody just changed their mind, whatever the case may be, if they don't take those educational requirements, they lose their license altogether. We didn't feel that was appropriate. If for some reason they don't want to pursue keeping that upgraded license, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to keep their lower status license, which in that case would be a sales associate. The law does not allow for that right now, so we're looking into a statute change. Basically, it says that they get to retain that lower license. That will be our second bill that we're going to pre-file in June of this year.
And that was probably an unintended consequence, possibly, of the post-licensing requirements?
It was. I don't think anybody thought about that. One of the first questions that came up that I think we're getting from the Real Estate Commission on this issue is, well, what if it's a broker, and not just an associate broker, but they upgraded and they have people under them now? Well, we can't fix that. That person better be pretty careful in their license, because either way they're going to lose their ability to have licensees underneath them, and those licensees will have to find a new broker. But just fixing the initial situation is what we're worried about. It doesn't make sense to take that person's capability of practicing real estate away from them in that situation. We also looked at the Real Estate Commission pamphlet, and the committee says there's enough flaws with it that they want to see a revision. Now, we can't revise it. All we can do is make a suggestion to the Alaska Real Estate Commission, because by statute they're mandated with putting forth regulations and to create that pamphlet or to change it, and now that it's already created. So we're going to come up with some good ideas that we think are good ideas anyways, and see if we can convince them of the wisdom of that, hopefully present it to them at their December meeting. If not, then in their March meeting.
What was the consensus comments on the flaws? What specifically it keeps coming up?
From the surface, just nobody likes it. One of the problems that I had a hard time agreeing with until I heard how important it was to a number of people was designing a number of different forms, and trying to get it down to one page, by the way, but also making it more user-friendly for commercial use, a residential use, and a property management use. The law is the same for all those uses. Some of the commercial people are hesitant to use what looks like a residential form. The property management people are saying, well, why have all these choices when 99% of the time it's just this situation?
Right.
We're trying to make it more user-friendly, not have it look like a contract. The suggestion was made to create a 14-inch page with a tear-off section. That way, when you're at the site and you're filling the form out and they're signing it before they look at the house, you can tear a piece off and each party can have one. And that's been one of the issues. You either have to give it to them or keep it, and nobody has that copy when you're on site.
Dave Summers, thank you for all the work you're doing on behalf of the realtors around the state of Alaska and the property owners, and we look forward to our next opportunity to get some updates on the immense amount of stuff on your plate right now.
Chris Story, I thank you and for all you do, and it's people like you that give me hope that I can get out of this volunteer business pretty soon, because you're coming up to take over for everything.
Now we know that it's not. Well, our deception was strong and we got big and tall. So we made our plans, and like warriors we fought.
Alaska USA Mortgage Company is a proud sponsor of your Alaska Real Estate Podcast. Alaska USA Mortgage, a name you know and people you trust. With mortgage experts in every corner of Alaska, AK USA Mortgage can put your first-time home buyers into a mortgage or your multifamily investors. Online at alaskausamortgage.com. Now, please welcome to the show, Nobu Hata. All right, Nobu, so where has life taken you since last we spoke? You are now the digital liaison for digital engagement. What are you for NAR, and where is it taking you?
I am, yes, it's kind of a mouthful. I am the Director of Digital Engagement for the National Association of Realtors, which is actually a post that's been around now for 2.5 years. And basically what it is basically an industry relations position. So I am kind of connecting what NAR does to the brokers, the associations, and the agents out there, and vice versa. From sharing your insights going up the chain. I'm kind of a conduit for communications in the tech world and leadership world and things like that. And I'm doing it primarily through the digital domain, but in the end, doing it in the real world as well. So it's almost like an insight industry relations kind of position. I'm honored to have been a nerd and in the leadership, several leadership positions with NAR. So I kind of speak the nerd to the folks who may not be able to lend insight where I can. It's an interesting position, and it's constantly evolving as more and more people learn of the skill sets that are needed to really kind of run business nowadays. Spending time between Minneapolis and Chicago and working directly with the staff. I was actually one of two people that were hired, both of us former realtors. While I am the external initiatives with NAR, the other person hired was internal. So she is training folks internally to use new media better craft messages that resonate a little better with the associations, brokerages, and agents out there. So we're a team. We're streamlining messaging in-house so I can push it to the folks externally. So I'm in Chicago. She's in D.C. And, NAR is evolving in a rapid pace. Right now we're both kind of clearing out our previous realtor involvement duties. So we're still in the midst of cleaning that out and then gearing up for convention. And actually, convention is probably the best way to do it. NAR's convention is next week. And what we have done is helped the internal staff craft messages for the different education sessions that are out there to make it more relevant to the agents attending. And then I'm helping them push it out through the new platform that we have. It's called Conference Live, so that folks who aren't able to attend can actually kind of virtually attend via the site. So we're training internally, and then I'm taking control of the 25 or so featured attendees and making sure that the content is there, that folks who can't attend can virtually attend through the eyes of the featured attendees. And I'm going to push that content out next week as the conference gears up.
What advantages do you bring to the table, having been in real estate for these many years?
That's a big question. The insight portion of it is I think the one thing that has opened up a lot of eyes within the NAR corporate end of things, we're the only two agents who are working at NAR, if you can believe that or not. Basically, the folks that were working at NAR really were trying to do their best given the insight that they did have. And the insight that they did have was with the leadership team and the folks who were getting involved at the national level. On the Realtor practitioner end of things, we are two people who used to do that, are now working internally with NAR. It's the insight, making what we did as an agent more relatable to the folks working for NAR so that they can help, so we can help them gear their services better to those agents and to those brokers and to the local association folks that need it. It's no longer going to be a top-down, bottom-up way of doing things. It's going to be a very collaborative way to do things. And now they've got the people, NAR does anyways, to kind of facilitate that. So the dynamic is a lot different than when I was an agent and a volunteer leader. Now that I'm working for NAR, it really is kind of getting down to the grindstone and doing a lot of work to helpfully next year hit the ground running when it comes to messaging and insight and services for agents and brokerages.
Well, congratulations. You sound like you're really enjoying it, and I think this is so much of what you were already doing and already bringing to so many realtors. It's almost just an incredible way to leverage your nerdism and make it useful for all 1-some-odd million realtors out there.
Absolutely. That's the hope. And the more I can get out there and help agents and brokerages and associations be better in what we do, we can all get better as an industry going forward. The next 3, 4, 5 years in real estate are going to be ridiculously cool, in my mind anyways. And we can all do better in this business as a team, as a collaborative group going forward, because we've got some hurdles that we're going to be hitting next year over the coming years, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But definitely daunting at the same time. So the more that Heather Elias, who's the internal person, and I can do to help out with that, the better.
That's going to do it for this edition of Alaska Real Estate. Sandy Aaronman is your executive producer. For all of us at Alaska Real Estate, I'm Chris Story, wishing you health, wealth, and prosperity.
Well, young Paul Wilson had a bit less to say. Sally Rowe was not likely to stray. Well, Paul preferred the company of the birds and stones. Sally was asking for his love. Well, at the church they prayed down on their knees. And in return, Paul got sent overseas. Sally wrote him every day for 2 long years. Paul, he never opened one for superstitious fears. Sally was tossing rocks into that riverbed. Paul, he was talking to that God in his head, and he said, could it be, she is the one for me. And what is love, what is war, are they worth fighting for? Could it be that I don't know exactly what's beyond the door? Could it be, tell me Lord, could it be? Well, Paul was stationed at the western line. The enemy was creeping up from behind. Well, Paul was praying on a bed of snow when the enemy stabbed him and slit his throat. Well, Sally knew in the moment she did not say a word. She gave her last letter to the stones and birds. Well, she was tossing rocks into that riverbed, knowing that a young Paul Wilson now was surely dead. Paulie was looking down from heaven up above as Sally swung from a rope with a note that read, for my love, and it said, could it be, he is the one for me. love? What is war? Are they worth dying for? Could it be that I don't know exactly what's beyond the door? Could it be? Tell me, Lord, could it be? When at war we grow ourselves thicker skin for the money or next of kin. Jubilation when our boys come home. When they don't, we'll sing this mournful song. Well, Paul and Sally were a match from the start, and they made it till death did they part.